What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back. Today we are touring Walt Disney World in the MC Parks Magic Server. And today, you could probably tell, based off the music, based off of where we're standing, we are going to be doing my favorite attraction in all of Walt Disney World. Today we are taking a look at the Pirates of the Caribbean. Is it the Pirates of the Caribbean or the Pirates of the Caribbean? Let me know down below. So this attraction has a ton of history, an absolute ton. And we're going to take this thing all the way back to what was conceived as a wax museum and a walkthrough experience. But you have to remember what the time frame was. It was Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress and It's a Small World in 1964, as Disney was getting ready for the New York's World's Fair, right? And at the time, Walt was getting ready for adding attraction. Obviously all these sponsored attractions at the end of the World's Fair, where were they going to go? Where were they going to store these attractions? And so ultimately it ended up coming to Disneyland and eventually the Magic Kingdom. But this was something that similar around the same time as the planning stages for Haunted Mansion. Disney was not, it took them a little while to get this concept off the ground, but Walt's fingerprints are all over these attractions, like the Haunted Mansion, like the Pirates of the Caribbean. And let's see if we could get the boat. Is it coming? Oh, there it is. It's coming in slow. All right. Very dramatic entrance for the boat. So Walt and his team of Imagineers decided that audio animatronics was the right way to go. They were no longer going to be doing this wax museum concept. They were going to make these animatronics, animated figures, right? And so at that point, that's where the story really got going for this attraction. So on April 19th of 1967, Pirates of the Caribbean, the first attraction of this type, opened at Disneyland. And thanks to the many highly detailed environments, the lavish effects, all the memorable characters that were created, it created a huge wave of popularity. And it is to this day, and has been, a classic and a staple of Disneyland. So then the story gets kind of interesting, because then, during the creation of the park in Orlando, in the Magic Kingdom, the attraction was not initially planned for the Magic Kingdom. And designers at the time thought that a pirate story in a state with a large history of pirates, especially on the western side of Florida, there was a unproduced Western River expedition, which was planned as a part of Adventureland or Frontierland for this space. But due to popular demand, an abridged version of the attraction for Pirates of the Caribbean was created and opened on December 15th of 1973, and alongside with the rest of the Caribbean Plaza that was in Adventureland. And so I always wonder that, like, what would that concept have been had we gotten the Western River expedition? It was kind of a mix of Big Thunder Mountain with a flume ride in it, which I think would have been really interesting. And there was a lot of pretty deep concept art in that venture. They were very close to building that in the second phase of Magic Kingdom. But once a lot of people were coming to the park saying, "Where's Pirates of the Caribbean?" Disney kind of got to the point where they were like, well, I guess we're going to be building it in that spot in Adventureland. And that's ultimately how we got Pirates of the Caribbean in Walt Disney World. And then again, there was another duplicate in Tokyo Disneyland. That attraction opened in 1983. And then Disneyland Paris had their own version in 1992. And then the franchise really took another turn in the early 2000s with the debut in 2006 of Johnny Depp's Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and the franchise had completely taken a different path. And I think what makes this attraction so incredible is the build up. And I think the Haunted Mansion and the Pirates of the Caribbean, unlike basically any other attractions in Disney, they do such a good job of creating the scene and really slowly getting you in the environment of what it's like and what the attraction is going to be about. They did such a fantastic job of that in these first versions. And it's one of those things that I think is kind of a lost piece today. Like, Disney really has lost that touch of the incredible environment and the vibe that they create for these attractions. And like I said, the perfect examples of this are Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion. And you could just see how detailed and beautiful the environment is. It is incredible how much detail and effort they put into creating this attraction. It is like I said, a phenomenal attraction. And you have the little elements of Johnny Depp throughout the ride, which I think is really interesting, because I think there is a world coming up in the not so distant future where I think Disney is eventually going to take out that part of the attraction. I think Johnny Depp's character is it's a very different looking animatronic. It's an A100 audio animatronic in a ride with all of the the older version of the animatronics, and it kind of looks a little bit weird. And I think in the next 10 years we could see, as that Pirates of the Caribbean franchise has really taken a hit, I could really see some world where Disney just completely removes the Jack Sparrow from all of those attractions. And I think I would be fine with that. You can see here you have the auction scene, which is very much a iconic part of this entire attraction. But over the years, like I said, there's been a lot of changes to this attraction, and I think what's really interesting about the Magic Kingdom one too, the queue is known as the watchtower that's in front of it is called the Torre del Sol, and it's housed in a golden Spanish fort called Castillo del Moro, and that's actually inspired from the Castillo de San Felipe del Moro in San Juan. So it's based off of a real building in Puerto Rico. And as the guests enter the fortress, the sounds of Spanish soldiers mobilizing to fight the pirates in a village, you could hear it if you listen very quietly. You go maybe one of the last rides at night, you could actually hear that. There's a lot of really interesting Easter eggs in it. I mean, the load area is the Pirates Cove. You're trying to escape the fortress, which is obviously under siege in a battle, right? I think the amount of storytelling and detail is I think Disney, a lot of people think the people they don't care about all the details and all the little things, but I think that is completely wrong. I think people really do understand just how much detail and storytelling, it really is an immersive experience because of that. And I really, like I said, I think this is my favorite attraction. Just, the fact that Walt had his fingerprints on it, the fact that it is just such a deep lore, and it really created a fascination for me for pirates, And I think there is this battle today where, we want things to be, politically correct, and that constantly wanting to maybe progress certain attractions. And the Pirates of the Caribbean, listen, there was a lot of really dark parts of this attraction. There was parts where the women were being chased by the ravaging pirates, obviously the auction scene and what that was implying, selling women and things like that. But I think there is also a fine line where Disney has to be careful, where you're able to touch on difficult subjects like that, and try not, don't forget those subjects, and remember that these are pirates, and these aren't, it's not the I want to grow up and be a pirate. It's more so understanding what pirates did and learning from that. I think there is a valuable lesson in that as well. And I'm not saying it's as easy as just keeping the attraction the way it is, but there is also a level of, just making sure that you don't completely just erase and remove it either, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but I think, I think Disney has made some interesting decisions from that with the redhead scene and everything like that. And now what's really interesting is now we have the new bar, the Beaks and Barrel bar with the animatronic Barker Bird. So like things are really continuing to evolve in the Pirates of the Caribbean lore in the Magic Kingdom, and I think this attraction just encapsulates so many great things about old Magic Kingdom, old Walt Disney World. And like I said, there's a reason that this is my favorite attraction in all of Walt Disney World. And like I said, I still haven't seen the one in Disneyland, haven't been to Disneyland yet, but I'm really interested to see that attraction, and with the extra bayou scene.
Welcome to 215 Maple Drive.
And just seeing how much more detailed that area for the attraction is. So that's going to do it for today. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.